Welcome to my live. Today's gonna be a little different. As you can tell, I'm on the floor and I'm doing my screen. I'm doing a craft today, so I'm gonna take a break from streaming on games. I'm just gonna hop right into doing a craft. We're still gonna listen to the podcast. Don't worry about that. So I have a giant craft going on. As you can see, there's a piece of paper right there. I'm afraid that's gonna be going in and out. I don't know how to turn that off. Yeah, I can't turn it off. So anyway, yeah, there's a paper right down there, and I'm making that right now. I got a few steps to do before I do that. So I'm gonna go right into the verse of the day, and we're gonna go right into the podcast. That took a while to explain, but I'm there. We go. All right. So today's verse of the day is Psalms 34:18. Nope. Psalms 34:19. Many are afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivers him out of them all. That's it. So, that being said, hi. I don't guess you can see me. This is brand new to me, so sorry for the awkward position and everything. Don't give you sickness here. Oh, look at that. That'll do. Yay, it works. Can you hear me? That is the question. Testing. Hello? There we go. Okay. So, now that I got up, I need to get back down up here.
Jesus, won't you take me deeper into the very heart of God? Ooh, Lord, help me to know your will. Father, the strength to carry on, 'cause I wanna go where you send me, and I wanna be what you made me. So may all of the other room in my heart now. Lord, may all of the other room in my heart now. Take Me Deeper podcast is a ministry of Machias Christian Fellowship located on 3 Davis Road, Machias. Our service times are Sunday morning, 6:30, 8:30, and 10:30. We observe communion on the third Sunday of every month. Sunday evenings, junior and senior high youth group meet at MCF from 6:30 to 8 p.m. Monday evenings at 7 p.m. we have the Arise Addiction Recovery meetings. On the third Monday of each month, they have a potluck and testimony night, which starts at 6 p.m. We have prayer meeting on Wednesday night at 5:15 p.m., followed by our midweek service Wednesday night at 6:30.
For those of you in the Machias Christian Fellowship listening area, there's a conference coming up in January. It's the Freedom's Legacy Conference on January 31st from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Confirmed speakers Robert Cross, Bobby Charles. There were other people that they're trying to get. It's open to attendees between the ages of 15 and 30. Well, they can enter free. All others, $20 to come in. The Bright Arrow Group is a fellowship ministry of MCF. Donations to this ministry can be made through the church website at ccmachias.com. Arise Addiction and Recovery, helping people find freedom from addiction through a personal relationship with our Lord Jesus Christ. For more information on their website at ariseaddictionrecover.com, the church website also has a donation button. Coastal Crowns make handmade hats stitched with care right here in Maine. They are all about that laid-back coastal lifestyle. Built for the dock, the boat, and the weekend grind. Find them on Facebook. Message Coastal Crowns, Dallas Richardson, or Brooke Davis for more information. Frame to Finish Carpentry LLC is a new business started by Joshua Earl. He will be doing carpentry and light construction. Contact number 207-263-5706.
Righteous Roofing and Renovations, call 263-8368.
Eastern Wildlife Management is the name of my ministry. We have a Facebook page, and you can reach out to us on there, 207-598-8257. Tyler Farrington, FARRINGTON, 11@yahoo.com.
Treasures of the Hill is a handmade crafting business of Amanda Hill, editor of this podcast, and my wife. Items include a wide variety of handmade, customizable options. She makes up the merchandise we have available. Check out the website at treasuresofthehill.com or contact Amanda through Facebook on the Treasures of the Hill Facebook page. Thank you for listening to Take Me Deeper. We are now available on SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music. Our Facebook page is Take Me Deeper Podcast, where you can interact with other listeners and the creators. And you can also email us at takemedeeperpodcast@gmail.com. Welcome to Take Me Deeper. I am Casey Hill.
And I'm Nate Dudley.
And today, randomness all around, we have an actual interview episode we weren't planning on, and I'm super excited. We are going to be interviewing
Tyler Farrington.
And what do you do, Tyler Farrington?
So today I'm going to be talking about Eastern Wildlife Management. Eastern Wildlife Management is a ministry that I started back in 2021. And so one part to the ministry is fundraising. We package and give our hunts away to Christ-centered organizations. From there, they take them, auction them, raffle them, sell them. And in turn, we take whoever wins these hunts, on a guided hunt. We do a hunt for every season. Yeah. So, I mean, that's the short answer. I imagine we're going to get to the long answer throughout this.
Sure. So that's the fundraising part.
That's the fundraising part.
What's the other part?
There's three parts to Eastern Wildlife Management. One is fundraising for Christ-centered organizations. The other is being a resource to the church so that maybe if a father and a son come into the church and they want to learn about hunting, they want to learn about food plotting, it kind of ties into the homesteading thing that Aaron was talking about today in the first service. We want to be that resource for them so that we can come out and we can do a consultation with them on their land, show them how to food plot, maybe talk about conservation, talk about some law. And the third thing is we want to create disciples. So That's the three parts to Eastern Wildlife Management. That's the ministry, the long and the short of it. When we first started going, we thought that we would give these hunts away and we would take whoever wins on a guided hunt, whether it be a deer hunt, bear hunt, turkey hunt, whatever the case may be. And we thought we would take that time to disciple. But what we started finding was where we're already giving away to Christ-centered organizations, these people are already believers. Now, don't get me wrong, it's still a great time. We have great fellowship.
Yeah.
But there has to be some type of outreach here. And so that's kind of like our new project going into 2026 is possibly starting our own podcast, holding events, and that kind of thing where God can be glorified more to somebody who may not necessarily hear the gospel.
Awesome. A little bit of your background. I've seen pictures of you on the back of a lobster boat
hmm
and behind the wheel.
hmm
So I know you do a little bit of fishing. So you're local.
Yeah. My background is mostly in commercial fishing.
Mm-hmm.
I have an insurance agency. I'm a local real estate investor here. So we have, I think, 17 different units of housing and storage and
I might have
single.
to talk to you about some.
You and everybody else. So there's that, and then I'm a hunting guide as well.
Okay. So where do your hunts happen? You said that you do 4 a year, so they can't all be in Maine because we only have the fall for whitetail and
hmm Yeah,
you
so
must have other places you go.
it's not always 4.
Okay.
I'll take you through the hunts that we did this year. We did a youth hunting day for the turkey season for Moose Maine kids. And then we did a youth day deer hunt that we gave away to Machias Valley Christian School.
Mm-hmm.
And then we did a bear hunt for Rise Addiction Recovery.
Nice.
And the latest hunt that we did was a trip to upstate New York, and that was also an Arise Addiction Recovery. We've also donated to the dinner table.
Okay.
We've donated to them. Yeah.
So politics. Again, just
On the right side of politics.
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Cool. You have anything?
So you said when you first started, so you had from the very beginning when you first started doing this that it was going to be ministry minded. And so your heart really is to try to get people in that maybe, because you said it was great to have people that came in that knew who Jesus was,
Mhm.
because I mean that's a lot of fun because you have really great fellowship. But your heart is to really try to get some people in. You want this to be an outreach. You want this to be people coming in. Maybe they don't know anything about Jesus. Maybe they know a little bit about Jesus, and you're trying to do a discipleship. How did that even come into mind to go into a hunting, fishing kind of program? I mean, like, show me how your brain works.
If I can start you from the very beginning, I gave my life to Jesus late into 2019. And I didn't just rush right into church. I started reading the Bible, audio in the car. I come from a background of lust.
Okay.
So lust of the flesh. And so I was living with my girlfriend at the time, and we weren't married. And there was some baggage there too. And so I probably unofficially gave my life to Jesus late into 2019. I didn't come in through the doors of this church until 2020. And when I did, I'll never forget the anxiety that I had to fight to get in through these doors. The first Sunday I came, I drove in the parking lot, I pulled in,
And then you pulled away.
I turned around and left. Now why? Because I don't really have social anxiety. I'm not, I think that God wanted to make sure that when I came in through these doors, whether that meant, I officially gave my life to Jesus at that point or not, I don't think that was it.
Right.
But I do think that church has been a big part of accountability, spiritual structure, and things like that. I think God wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to go back and live into the world. So that it was like really hard just to get myself in through this door. And when I did, there was no going back. So that was June of 2020. And from there, it was right in the middle of COVID. I'm studying to be a state of Maine registered guide. COVID was like a really weird time
Sure was.
everybody. But it also freed up a lot of time for me and my schedule to go to guide school. And because the opportunity that I would have that much time on my hands probably wouldn't arise again. And so I kind of went to guide school to become a guide for me. I didn't do it for God, at first. And there was that, and I had bought a building here in town, had 3 units in it, and it was like there was a ton of hurdles to be faced with. We went through a lead paint investigation with the state of Maine CDC. We went through a lead paint investigation with the EPA, which is at the federal level. Like, it got really rough. And this is after I gave my life to Jesus, right? Shouldn't your life get easier?
That conversation
One would
already.
think.
Well, no. I mean, my life was getting harder by the
Yeah.
day. I'm 6 months into being heavily
It's funny how
involved
those
with.
things pop up.
That's right. Yeah. And so I had all that going on. My wife was 6 months pregnant. I had so much going on. Well, I'll never forget my first day in guide school. The first thing that they tell you is, hey, when you get your exam date back, don't miss it. I don't care if you're sick, like you better be there. If you don't show up to the day of your testing, then you're going to be put on a 1-year waiting list, and don't expect an easy time by that examiner as well. I don't know if the listeners have any idea how hard the state of Maine guide exam is, but it's arguably the toughest in the country. I think second behind Alaska, only because there's a apprenticeship program that goes along with the exam. Whether life got in the way, or IF and W told me the wrong date, or whatever happened, I wasn't there.
Uh-oh.
I had realized that I had missed my guide exam by a day. I had so much going on. But like this guide exam, like, this was purely something for me. I didn't really do it. I didn't consult God on it. Same thing with this apartment building that was giving me all the trouble. I didn't consult with God on that. And make a long story short, like, because my life was upside down, I didn't really know like what was going on with my acquisitions business. My wife was pregnant. Dealing with a lot of changes with being a new Christian. It crushed me to think that, like, I wasn't gonna have my guide's license. And so that was probably one of my first hurdles as a Christian. And I fasted, I prayed, I wrote a letter to the Maine Department of Inland Fish and Wildlife to let me come back and take this guide exam. By the grace of God, a week later they did.
Wow.
Yeah, which is unheard of. Totally
Sure,
unheard of.
right.
That's the first thing they tell you in guide school, at least at the guide school that
You
I was
missed
at.
it.
Yeah, I missed it, and it wasn't because I was irresponsible or slept in or anything like that. I just had so much going on, and it very well. I don't want to like say that I was responsible for missing it, but they very well could have told me the wrong date. It was a Friday, and I was supposed to be in there on a Thursday. Anyway, my path from there was like, okay, this is clear that, like, this is a ministry that God wants me a part of. Because I don't think that everybody is called to teach necessarily and be a pastor, but I do think that we're all called to be a part of ministry in one form or the other.
Amen.
So that's kind of like what brought me to saying, hey, this is how I need to use my guide's license for the greater good of God. And that was how Eastern Wildlife Management started.
Cool.
Yeah.
So you and I both started coming to church here at the exact same time. So I honestly didn't know that you hadn't been coming here all along. As soon as I started in June of 2020, that's when I moved here. You were already here, so we've been here about the same amount of time. That's pretty cool.
I was here in like 2014, but I was only in the building. I wasn't, I was physically here. I mentally wasn't.
The only reason why when you said the first time you came here, you actually turned around in the parking lot, because that's a similar story to a lot of people. And I think you're not ready for the implications. I think, it's like, that they're there. I think we all have an idea that if I go ahead with this, and if God changes my life, then it's gonna affect everything. And you really have to get your head around that.
Yeah, I know you guys have been reading in Romans. I'll never forget my first Sunday in church. The worship team comes out. a half hour later, Aaron gets up there. All right, guys, today we're in Romans 1, chapter 1. And I'm like, because I've spent a little time in the Bible at this point, mostly in the Old Testament. I started Genesis 1, chapter 1. I mean, where else do you start? Right? I didn't know the difference between the Old Testament, the New Testament.
Right.
I'd heard of this Jesus guy, but like I didn't know him personally. I didn't know the pain and the agony that he went through to die for my sins and that gift of salvation that he offers. But Aaron gets up there and he says Romans 1, chapter 1. And I thought, well, this is great. It's my first day in church. I'm going to just be a sponge and I'm going to soak it all up. He started going through Romans 1, chapter 1. And I got done my first Sunday in church. I don't know why I came back. I felt
Felt like you got beat up.
I felt terrible. I spent the next 3 Sundays like this. I'd go home and lay on my couch and just think
Cry.
about, like, contemplate life.
What did I do?
What did I do? Once again, I think that was God's way of putting the nail in the coffin of the old me.
Oh,
And just
man.
making sure that, like, because I knew that I was living in sin. I knew that, but I guess I didn't know, like, how
how bad it was.
bad it actually was until you look at it through the lens of God. And I think that's what the beginning of Romans did for me. And, I don't know, a year or so later, we were doing a topical study and we went back there. And on the bottom of my pages, where I was holding on to my Bible those first days of church, were brown from sweat off of my hands.
Wow.
And what a reminder of, my testimony and where it started.
That's so awesome.
That's a landmark right there. We talked about that a while ago. I think Aaron brought that up a couple weeks ago, didn't he? Talking about the landmarks
Yeah.
that you have in your life.
Mm.
Yeah, so don't ever try to get rid of those brown marks on your Bible pages.
What a
for sure.
reminder.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right, so you have an outreach ministry and you send out packages to other churches, but then you get people that sign up that might not be saved. Like, how do you introduce the gospel to, like, say a father and a son buy a hunt with you and you're out a week or a weekend doing some trainings on a food plot kind of thing. Like you're saying, this is the kind of setup for your land and you want to have nice open lanes, yada yada. How do you introduce the gospel to a brand new set of people that you've never met?
There's no one answer to that. I think that it's
Okay.
different for everybody. And I think that, and I'm guilty of it. And I think a lot of Christians are probably guilty of it, that it's just our job to plant the seed. Like,
Mhm.
we can't physically step in and, make these people believe in the gospel, make these people believe in Jesus. But what we can do is be a really good godly example. Sometimes that's as simple as praying at lunch,
Yep.
praying at dinner. Maybe you drop a verse to them. Maybe, so there's no like one easy way to say
This is
that.
how you do it.
Yeah, exactly. I remember my grandmother when I first, before I was in church, but I was like reading in my Bible and I was starting to believe and I was starting to change the way that I thought. My grandmother fell ill. Now, she was 88 years old and she was independent pretty much up until the last 3-4 months of her life. But it was never really clear to me whether she believed or not. It was something that she didn't share much about: the Bible, God, Jesus, church. It was just something that we didn't talk about. And while she was ill, I remember like I took my best swing at her because I knew that like I had a responsibility as a Christian to share the word, but I didn't know that you could just pray with somebody and ask them, "Hey, do you want to invite Jesus into your life? Do you want to accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior?" I didn't know it was that simple. And I read her something from Deuteronomy, after the people of Israel were freed, how they like questioned all the leadership around them, how they were, in slavery, but at least they had a roof over their head. At least they were fed. So like they started to question everything around them. And I kind of circled that back with my grandmother with what she was going through, because she kind of went downhill fast.
Yeah.
And I lived with that guilt for a little while, that like, hey Tyler, it didn't have to be that hard. Is my grandmother even saved? Did I say the right thing? Did I package it right? Did I read her the right scripture? What does that look like? And I didn't really get clarification on that particular instance until the day before her funeral. And I had named my lobster boat after my grandmother, the Alice A. I
Aw.
just got my lobster license that year. And the theme of my boat was blue. And my buoy color was blue. And I only owned 26 blue traps. And I was like stirred up with emotion about my grandmother because my way of contributing to her reception was I was going to bring the lobster. I named my lobster boat after my grandmother, and my grandmother loved lobster. What better way to bring honor to her than by bringing a crate of lobsters for everybody to enjoy at the
Right.
reception? And it was a foggy day, and like I said, it was the day before her funeral. So I was really like stirred up about that. Like, did I drop the ball? I'm supposed to be this believer, right? And like, do I even know if my grandmother's in heaven or not? I had a chance to do something about it. And I hauled up a blue trap and caught a bright blue lobster.
Mm.
Kept it on board for the day. And at the end of the day, it was a female. And we put a notch in the tail and let it go with the outgoing tide. I think that was God's way of kind of meeting me where I was at with what knowledge that I had, that my grandmother was saved, whether I thought I packaged it right or not. But, and I know I went on for a while
No,
there from
default.
your question, but that was my first time kind of like thinking I would step in and speak up for God,
Mhm.
to hope that somebody may be saved. And it's just one example.
That's an awesome story.
That's a great story.
Yeah.
I think too many of us probably have the adverse story where, I mean, I didn't take an opportunity to talk to my grandfather. He couldn't hear, he couldn't see, he didn't know I was there. So I didn't. I wish I had.
Mm.
And I think probably a lot of people were expecting me to do it. And I was a young Christian at the time. I couldn't sit and just watch him get sick like that. So I left the room.
Mm.
I think it's awesome. I've talked to a lot of people that have had that same situation where they just took the opportunity. And I think, man, I wish I had done that. So I just wanted to be real about that other adverse situation. I mean, you're just saying, take the opportunity. How long have you been doing this ministry now?
Since 2021.
Since 2021. And what has been the response? Like, is there a high response at some point in the year, like a drop off, or has it just been pretty steady?
My wife, Ashley, has handled all of our social media. So now we're like doing the reels and we're posting more. And so like we're starting to get more traction that way. But as far as like a response goes, we give all of our hunts away for free. You know what I mean? So
Right.
we take these hunts and we give them away, and it's up to the organization to raise money for their own cause. We just package the hunt. We do one fundraiser a year. We sell fruit trees, usually in April. We do 120 of them. That's the only round of fundraising that we do. But as far as the response goes, like, it's kind of a straight line. It's never up, it's never down. I mean, it's obviously higher when we have more interaction at these events and things like that. But I think if we roll out our own podcast, I think what that would allow the opportunity to do would be some guy, whether he lives in Machias or whether he lives in New York somewhere or Pennsylvania, it doesn't matter where this guy's from. He might stumble onto our podcast to listen to something educational about wildlife or something educational about food plotting or bear baiting. And in the end, he just may be introduced to Jesus.
That's awesome.
I love it.
When do you do the fruit tree sales?
April.
So everybody that's listening, would you please buy some fruit trees? there's your another plug for you.
Yeah.
Is this like apple?
Yeah, we do apple, pear. I think last year we did just apple because that was like the main thing that everybody wanted was apple. So it's just easier that we do apple.
Is it just a Macintosh or?
That's a wildlife apple. It's almost a cross between a crab apple and a Macintosh. They're only $20 a tree.
Oh, it's for deer, not for us.
No, people eat them.
Okay.
People eat them. Yeah,
My daughter would eat them.
Yeah, they're like a
You know,
they're a reddish apple. They're a little bit smaller, but they're not as small as a crab apple. They're good for wildlife, but they're good for people too.
Oh, cool.
They come with a tree and it comes with a growth tube.
Okay.
So it's basically a growth tube is a recycled milk jug
Mhm.
that goes on and it serves almost like a miniature greenhouse over the tree. So
Okay.
it supercharges the growth of the tree by 7 times.
Oh, wow.
So if somebody waters their tree and they get it and it's only 18 inches long, put it in the ground, water it every day or every other day, it'll be up through the top of the tube by the end of the summer.
And if you live in Machias, put a fence around it.
Yeah, you don't want well, see, that's what the tube is good for, at least for the first
Yeah.
year. And so the tube's 5 feet high. So the only wildlife I've had trouble with because of the tube, because the tube does protect it and it does help it grow. The only wildlife I've had trouble with is moose. Oh man, it never fails. I'll get a tree so it'll like pop up through the tube and start to go outward and start to produce fruit, and some moose will come along and just devour the limbs. I've had some bounce
Do
back
you
from
have
it, and
moose
I've had
hunts as
some
well?
not. What's that?
Do you do moose hunts as well?
No, I don't.
I
We'd
don't
be open
say
to it.
Be open to it.
The moose is hard because it's a lottery. Not
Yeah,
everybody can
that's
just
true.
go out and do it.
That's true.
How does the law play a part in what you can and can't do?
Well, for me, I'm a guide, so I better abide by all law. I'm held to a whole other standard than the
Sure.
average hunter or the average fisherman. So I literally lose sleep in season trying to be sure that I am abiding by all laws and that I'm leading in a way that everybody else that may look at me as a guide or as an example or whatever, that they can see that I'm abiding by the laws as well. So for me, I mean, I don't know as everybody else is gonna, take the same approaches because I got a lot to lose in my guide's license.
Sure.
Like I'm not gonna, I wouldn't break a law if somebody put a gun to my head for God's sakes. My guide's license and what I went through, it means everything to me. But it would be good. We want to have an event where we can do like a game warden Q&A because what the laws do, and the laws are not, they're not a straight line. There's all these different seasons. There's all these different laws, and for somebody new to hunting or new to fishing and new to bag limits, I can see where they would be overwhelmed. I field questions all the time just simply because of my guide's license. I'm not a game warden. I don't
Mhm.
enforce the law, but I'm relatable and we are a resource and people reach out to us all the time asking about laws. And if we're knowledgeable enough to answer the question, we're happy to answer the question. But it would be good to have some type of event where we can get law enforcement involved, like a Q&A, something to where we can start to bridge this gap between law and law enforcement in the everyday person,
Make it a
regardless of
little
what
more
experience.
relevant.
I think
Exactly.
if you started a podcast, that would be the best opportunity. You get a game warden in and you just talk shop.
That gets really tricky. So we were gonna, I was explaining this to Casey before you came in. We were gonna have an event. It was going to be at the Arise Church in East Machias. I was going to give my testimony. We were going to have a free lunch. We're going to give away free prizes, and at the end, we were going to have a game warden Q&A. And where it gets messy was where we were serving lunch. We wanted a head count. We had to advertise. Well, you can't advertise that you're going to have, a game warden. I assume the biologist where they work for IF&W. I assume it's all the same. So it gets really sticky. You can't advertise somebody a part of a state agency. So like this is just another like step that like we're gonna have to get creative with this if we want to bridge this gap that we want to bridge between the everyday people and law enforcement. So we had to call the event off. Long story short, we didn't have to call the event off, but we did have to call off the advertising. And in the end, it was like, I don't know how else we're gonna get people here. I don't know if Tyler Farrington.
Do you know any retired game wardens?
So I think that I do. I think that I do, actually. I didn't think of that as much. We kind of threw the event together, with a couple weeks of a timeline, and it was up against it for hunting season. And these wardens were starting to get busy, so it was something that we just kind of let go.
Okay.
But it's something we want to circle back on so that we can, like I said, start to bridge that gap so people feel more comfortable reaching out to law enforcement.
I had to reach out to a warden a few weeks back, right before hunting season started. I think archery was going on, but I had a fawn in my backyard. Both of the front legs were broken from a car. Every time I'd get close to it, it would, hobble off another 30 feet. I live in an area where I didn't think it would be a good idea for me to take my gun out and take care of it because of where I live. So I called up the warden and he came and took care of that for me. And I ended up with a hind quarter and a back strap out of the deal. So that was nice, but
Yeah.
it is good to be able to, have them available when you need them for sure. You mentioned bear baiting,
Mhm.
and I know there was that whole thing in the state of Maine. We had the referendum on bear baiting and trapping and all that sort of thing. Has that affected you at all, or what is the actual rules around baiting with bear right now?
It hasn't affected me at all. The state of Maine knows we have a good chunk of bear here, and we've got to do something about it. So we have
Yeah.
3 methods of harvesting a bear. What's he cracking up about? He's
You
giving
just-
me a
well,
comment.
He does this.
You don't listen. If you're listening to this podcast, you don't just go out and try to find a bear.
No.
Okay,
Definitely not.
you just
Definitely
don't. You have to draw them out. They're not gonna come to you.
You remember the old hunting licenses before they went to the printer only versions?
Mhm.
When you got your hunting license, it had a deer tag
Mhm.
and then it had a bear tag right next to it. And when I was a 16, 15-year-old kid, I was thinking, I mean, I might not see a deer, but if I see a bear, I can shoot that too. And I didn't really realize like that bear already knows you're there. It's not going to be anywhere. He's not coming anywhere close to you.
Bear is so smart.
Yeah.
You know the thing about that tag, that bear tag that they give you, that gives you permission to kill a bear during deer season, but it doesn't give you permit. Even though you got a bear tag in your pocket, you've got to buy a bear permit to bait them, or So like that's just one example of like somebody could get the wrong idea and maybe shoot a bear out of season, and
Don't do that.
don't do that. Not like you'd ever have to worry about it. You're not
No,
going to
I
just be
see one.
walking in the
I
woods
didn't
and
think
stumble
I
on a
would
bear.
ever see one. I've
No.
seen 2 bear in my whole life, and they were both 100 yards in front of the truck running a million miles an hour
That's
across
right.
the road.
Yeah.
I saw one in a zoo, and then I saw one when one was roaming around Ellsworth, but that was just people taking pictures of it on Facebook.
Yeah. Yeah. But to get back to your question, we have 3 methods of harvesting bear here in Maine. One is baiting,
Mhm.
which is probably the most challenging, believe it or not. 2 is over hounds, and 3 is trapping. In the state of Maine, of all states, they're not going to let us do something that's going to harm the bear ecosystem here, not to mention it's a big tourist attraction. If people come hunting here in Maine, that's what they're coming for. They're coming for bear, they're coming for moose. That's certainly not for the deer, although we do have a few deer now. Our deer numbers have improved some. But if somebody comes here to hunt, it's for bear. But if we don't have these various methods to harvesting a bear, like, our bear numbers would be down, the bear numbers would start to be a problem. They'd start to be an issue. They'd be in everybody's dumpster. The state of Maine understands that. And that's actually one species that they've really done a good job at managing. We don't have as many bear here in, down east as what I'd necessarily like, but man, you get up north and
Everywhere.
man, they do it.
There's
They do
enough.
really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do really good.
So further on into the law, prices are going up for 2026. Apparently, just doing some quick research of my own just now, sportsmen are going to be feeling an increase. Residential fishing license fees are raising from $25 to $32, making it the first increase in 15 years. A portion of the additional revenue will be directed toward conservation funds. When you hear about these kinds of things, it's the first increase in 15 years for a fishing license. What's your take?
My take is this. I mean, our lovely governor, she sat back and she said, "Hey, we're gonna up the tax on tobacco products. We're gonna up the tax on, what was it, cannabis was the second one, and then after all that, we're gonna we're gonna up the license fees." So, okay, I get it, but I don't. Like, I get the tobacco, I get the cannabis, but the one thing that we want to get people away from their phones and outdoors and, spending more time outside, not like the $7 is going to be enough to deter somebody, but why that? Why that, I guess I'd have to learn more about that conservation fund that, you just hope that the state gets it right and they don't jack it up.
Yeah, I mean, that definitely ends up being a lot more of a political conversation I think we want to have. Hopefully this
What was a political move?
it was
So was.
it was. I think also Netflix is going up too for all,
Netflix, Spotify,
and I know that's
HBO.
that's going to be more of a
Was Janet Mills on that one too?
Oh yeah.
Get
That's
the
gonna be
streaming
more of a-
service.
that's going to be more of an issue for people than the hunting licenses going up.
Mm.
I think because you got to watch your Stranger Things and
Mm.
all that.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the people that are involved in hunting and fishing we already do a really good job of conservation as it is because we know what we're doing and why we're doing it.
Mhm.
I mean, there's always a bad actor out there that takes more than what they're supposed to. And I mean, there was somebody that I think it was up in northern Maine. There was like 5 deer down somebody found, and like they were all in a relatively close area, so it just looks like someone fired into a herd and just dropped them on, then left them.
And then left. Yeah.
That's disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, no rhyme or reason to it. A lot of times it's a group of kids out riding around. Alcohol probably involved,
Right.
and they think that they're being a tough guy by firing. Then they spooked and left and didn't even take care of it afterwards. Bring it home to eat it. The modern day poachers of like my uncle's time and my grandfather's time, those guys had honor. They might have broke the law, but they were bringing whatever they
bringing it
killed
home.
home to eat it.
Yeah. Well, and that's why they were doing it because they wanted the meat.
That's right.
They didn't just want to shoot a deer, kill it.
That's right.
There's stories about my grandfather on my mom's side, keeping people in the town alive. He worked in a woods crew, and if they went past a deer, they put it down.
Yeah.
And then they brought it back out on the skidder trail on their way back out, and they had it all cut up, and they would drop it off at the general store for people who wanted the meat.
Yeah.
And nobody even said anything about it.
No.
It was just probably the way it was back then.
It was probably like going 5 over on the speed limit.
Yeah.
It was like something that everybody did, but it wasn't enforced.
You and I had that conversation kind of sort of when my friends ran into a game warden up north. They were going fishing and they asked the game warden, like, what are you looking for to check us for our licenses? And he's like, as long as you're not rebel rousing and making a huge mess and drinking beers, like, I'm not really paying attention to you guys. You aren't the ones I'm looking for. You said, Nate, that you, Tyler, were on a lobster boat.
Yeah.
So do you do a lot of lobster fishing?
I lobster fish from June and November.
Okay, so you are
750 traps. Yeah.
Okay, so I want to go back in time.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody in a high-ranking position in the United States took away some lobstering acreage for their complete term, and then another person came in and made a visit here to Maine and immediately gave all that back to the lobstermen. Why is there such a battle for this, what seems to me to be a very small plot of water? What is the deal? Why does it seem like when a different organization gets in, it's always for that certain plot of ocean?
That certain spot of the ocean, I don't know. But I'll give you the bigger answer, because that spot of the ocean is like south of here a fair amount of ways. Like I've never fished in that area, but but I'll give you the long answer. What I think is going on when a different administration comes in is one administration is pro green energy, if you will. We could talk about all day, if they're going to offset their carbon footprint with all these mills and, all these solar panels and everything that they're making. But I think that they see one side, the left, they see the ocean as an opportunity to produce energy and create something that, well, it's not there now. And the fishermen are kind of in the way of that. So I think that now you've got the fishermen and now you've got this far left group that's out there, and both want a claim to the ocean. The lobstermen want their claim to the ocean to produce their income, right? Which they've had for most fishermen have probably done it the majority of their lives. And
And
then
it's a generational thing for a lot of them.
that's right. That's right. So you get an administration in there that, they see the ocean as an opportunity and something is in the way, and that's the fishermen.
Mhm.
And the fishermen are willing to fight for that plot of ground so that they can continue to lobster fish. They can continue to scallop. They can continue to ground fish and all that.
We've seen things come up that to the average person in Maine, the way that it's presented seems to make sense, right? Like the whole right whale and the floating lines and all that. When you actually start digging into the actual reports and statistics, the right whale kills aren't even happening in Maine waters. They're happening either further north in Canada or they're down near Cape Cod, Massachusetts area. And it's the big shipping containers that are actually
Ship strikes.
the ones that's what's actually killing all the right whales. It's not our floating, lobster gear or anything like that, but you use those charged subjects to get lobster fishing, like gives you the taboo. And then speaking of laws, I mean, you have to get all new kinds of equipment in order to be able to just go out and fish.
But
And
this group that's making life hard for the fishermen, I think that they've chose their area where they can gain ground on. And I think that they've gained a lot of ground on the fishermen with the floating lines, with all these different weak links in your line. If you run any amount of floating line, you've got to have a breakaway at your buoy. And then you need to have another breakaway 50% of the way down. And then you've got to splice purple marks in your line until you're blue in the face. I think it's 18 inches.
I didn't even know about that
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that if a whale does get entangled and he washes up on shore somewhere, they can see the color of the line. Every state has a different color in the line. Maine is purple. So that if a whale gets entangled in the state of Maine and washes up in Martha's Vineyard or something, they'll
It's got
say,
purple line.
It's got purple line. It came from Maine. Yeah. So I think that this group that's making the life of the fishermen hard, they're gaining ground on the fishermen, and they see that. So why would they go after the shipping companies, which is going to be a much bigger battle to fight, when they can keep going after little old Maine, which is a blue state and always seems to always have a blue administration in it?
But you're ignoring the fact that the lobster is becoming endangered.
Yeah, well, no, there's plenty of. Nobody's trying to say that the lobster's endangered. They're trying to say that the
reports are
waters...
coming in. A person got on a boat 6 years ago. They went out and they only caught one. And then 3 years ago, another reporter got on a boat. They didn't catch any. And then a reporter about 6 months ago got on a boat and you only caught two. So obviously, I mean, that's 3 in 12 years, 18. I don't even know. I can't do math right now. See, it's all messed up. So obviously, the numbers of lobsters you guys are just catching them, and you don't even care if they're females. You don't care if they're huge. I mean, you catch them when they're over big. You catch them when they're too small. I mean, look at them. Come on.
Yeah. No, Canada doesn't have any oversized measure, but Maine is probably the most sustainable and conservative fishery probably in the entire country. We have the V-notch law, we have the measure law. The V-notch law covers the egg-bearing law and all that. But I've heard a couple of different arguments why they think that lobsters are going away. One is they say the water's warming up. Well, if that's the case, those guys in Western Maine, their catch should be dropping off.
Yeah.
And we should be doing better here in Down East. Our water is colder, our water is deeper, our water has more current. So why are they still out catching us? It doesn't really, they have shallower water, they have warmer water, and they're out catching us here down east. The next thing is they're saying that there's no short lobsters because they put these ventless traps out there and they do 3 or 4 surveys and they take the numbers out of that. They bait them up, with the cheapest bait that whoever can find, and then they count the lobsters that's in them. And, they base their judgment call almost off of that.
There's a lobsterman, Jacob Knowles. He does a lot of short videos where he shows how they notch. He shows how they measure from the tip of the head to the base of the tail. And he also shows what the eggs look like if they're carrying eggs and what they do to properly put them back in the water. I mean, so I'll have Amanda put those up. I've said it 100 times and I'll say it 100 times more. I've said it more than 100 times. Hunters, fishermen, lobstermen, you name it, whatever it is that you guys do, you are the best conservationists that there are in the water or in the field, because you want them to come back.
That's right.
You want them to be a good size. You want the producers to be producing. You know what a sick animal looks like. You know what the strong animal looks like. You know it all. I mean, honestly, for anyone who's out there all the time, like you're probably out there all the time, when you know all of those things, I can't stand it when someone says, "Oh, hunters just don't know. Fishermen just don't know." Why are you out there?
Yeah.
Tell me, you personally, since you don't know what's going on, why are you out there?
Well, I mean, I'm out there to earn a living, but I mean, I can see when a trap comes up, whether it's got short lobsters or not. My traps have vents in them, you know? And so there's plenty of short lobsters. Have I conducted my own survey? No. But I mean, the short lobster thing, that's just one way that they're saying we need more regulation. And I think it's just another way for them to try to gain access to ocean that's valuable to them.
Yeah, and you know, our biologists get it wrong sometimes too. I remember a few years ago, the state of Maine they changed a bunch of rules about scalloping the time when we were harvesting them, and we killed off like a big portion of our fishery there, just the way that we were doing it at the time. I remember there was like a season or two where we didn't have scallops in our state because they were just like, sorry, only a few people can do it. You know, we're not giving licenses out this year.
It's a lottery now.
Yeah,
And I could be the only name in the hat and I wouldn't get picked.
right. Yeah, you gotta know somebody, right?
Yeah, I don't know. The shrimp fishery, same thing. They
Same
they
thing.
killed it in 2012.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they did a little bit of a pilot season last year, but I think it depends on where they're towing in, where they're taking their numbers from. We have inch and a half mesh in my lobster traps, and
Yeah, I'll go right through, hopefully.
we have shrimp on the washboard. So like there's shrimp down there somewhere where they're pulling their data from. I don't know. I'm not a biologist. I'm not going to pretend to be a biologist, but it does seem like a lot of these laws and regs, like there's a motive to it. It's not for the benefit of the fishermen either, I don't think.
No.
I think
Yeah, I mean, when we were kids, my dad would come home he did a delivery truck for shellfish. And every once in a while he'd come back with, I mean,
Massive
a great
amounts.
big clear plastic bag. I mean, so many shrimp on it that, I mean, we ate it for days.
Yeah.
You know, that was back in the early 90s.
Mm.
You know, back when we had Red Lobster restaurants in the state. And ever since then, it's like I haven't had Maine shrimp in a long time. I can't remember the last time I've actually had Maine shrimp.
It was no earlier than 2012. I mean,
Yeah.
within that time, no later than 2012.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, but New Brunswick is open, so they're probably the same shrimp.
I think, yeah, there's something about, I think you're right, the color of the administration. It always seems to favor Canada over Maine. I don't know why that is. You know, it's like I'm a foodie, so I watch foodie videos on YouTube. And you see like these guys doing buffet reviews like down in Las Vegas. They have a 5-pound lobster, hard shell lobster on their plate. And it's like, you know, that came out of waters very close to Maine, if not right from here. But it was a Canadian fisherman that took it out. That kind of stuff drives me nuts. Like, why is it that we are so regulated, but Canada can come in and fish? You know, they can skirt the edges and catch all our lobsters. That drives me nuts.
Well, you know, that's just an example, but another example is Canada pretty much has all of our processing market. And our primary season here in Maine is the shedder season. The majority of our shedders go back to Canada. And the Canadians, on the other hand, they have a closed season to where they target just mainly hard shell lobster. So they have the majority of our live market here in Maine. So it's almost like a trade-off. But why does Canada have so much say? Like, Maine is the lobster capital of the United States.
Mhm.
Why do we not have some amount of our processing market right here in Maine? Maybe not all of it. I know they've got a lot of money wrapped up in those Canadian processors, but why are we giving Canada the main say in what we get for a market price?
Mm.
I mean, this isn't new. I mean, we're like I said, the lobster capital is right here in Maine, and we're kind of at the mercy of another country.
Yeah, I don't get that. I've never understood that.
That's something that's probably not think about all the other countries that are involved in things. As a kid, I grew up in Rockland. So in the 80s, I mean, obviously before the ages before I was born, but in the 80s, I can remember walking with my grandfather. My grandfather lived just down the street, like across the street from McDonald's. So we would walk down the street from his house, and there was a wharf right there. And he would bring 3 5-gallon buckets. I think he probably carried 2 10s, and I carried a 5. And we would fill those with mackerel. Well, now you walk down there and there's a fence that goes all the way from the end of where the road is, and it goes all the way down where there used to be a gas station. I'm going back a long time ago for people. So you cannot walk down to the water anymore because someone owns that whole thing. But everybody, I mean, everybody and their brother would go down there. The wharf was filled with people, and we were catching mackerel like it was going out of style. I know it's a simple fish, but I love a good mackerel.
And you think access to waterways has kind of took some of that opportunity away?
Personally, I mean, I know you can go places. I mean, the Dudleys just recently dropped me off a whole bunch of mackerel, which was amazing. But anyway, I do personally. I miss being able to go to Rockland and be able to just walk down to the wharf and just drop a line in the water.
Yeah.
Why are those kinds of things happening? Why are we allowing those kinds of things to happen? What is happening?
Well, I think what's happening is Maine is quietly a big target destination for people who want to come out of the cities, that want a quieter way of life. They want a better view. They want some ocean frontage, and they want it for them. They've got the money to buy it up. And not to get back to the wildlife thing, but I'll never forget my first trip to upstate New York in 2016. I had owned no hunting property at that point, and my uncle and I were out there looking for a place to hunt, and there was no trespassing signs everywhere. And my uncle said to me, he said, "Tyler, take a good look around. This right here is coming to Maine." And I've seen that continue to be a problem to try to hunt and fish inland off the coast. So, Eastern Wildlife Management, we own 2 parcels of property that we've bought and developed just strictly for whitetail habitat. We've, food plots.
How many
water,
acres?
Bedding. I think we manage what we own personally 121 acres. Something like that. And believe it or not, at that 121 acres, it's only big enough to do 2 bear baits. With bear baits, you got to really spread out. So we bear hunt and deer hunt on the same property, and turkey, obviously. It's all a lot of work, but the deer, it takes a lot of time, to try to become a herd influencer to where, okay, you want every deer around for 7 square miles to know this is where the food's at. And, I don't think that any of our properties are really going to round the corner in good shape until all of these fruit trees that we're planting start producing fruit.
Right.
Like that, I think that will be but whenever somebody wins a hunt with us, whether they get it with Elijah Dickory, whether they get it with Machias Valley Christian School, or whatever cause they donate to win their hunt, they're getting permission to hunt this pristine hunting ground. And we want to make it just like what you see on the Outdoors channel on TV. We have insulated blinds, we have heated blinds, we have very, very comfortable setups that get you in out of the weather.
Nice
So
deer stands and
absolutely,
get all this stuff.
Absolutely. Yep. And the food plot program is probably the biggest thing that we do to make a hunt with us attractive. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It is fantastic.
Yeah.
So another thing that you kind of skimmed over, and I'm gonna hit it because I hate what I'm seeing. again, there's a certain organizational group out there that will say they want to save the trees, but over the last what's it been, almost 10 years now, we've started seeing some of those same groups saying, let's cut down a ton of trees and put up these solar farms and wind farms. I've heard from trail guides, I've heard from wardens and hunters, and they can't even go anywhere near those places anymore. There's a fence, but you can't go anywhere near these places. You'll get fines and things like that. So now we're losing ground.
There's a political agenda here. Long story short.
That was quick. No,
no, I mean it is. We talked about it earlier. We talked about the windmills, how they want to get more access to the ocean.
Yeah.
Inland, where they can put up these solar farms. It's they've got more money than the locals can to try to buy and conserve any of that land. I mean, we're clinging on to our 121 acres, and we're not going to let it go. Don't get me wrong, but these people are coming in. They're probably throwing your tax dollars around when they're buying up this land. Yeah. Not only that, but like what you're paying on your Versant bill, like for green energy credits and all that.
Yeah,
that's what's funding this kind of thing. And I've got nothing. I mean, look, if somebody wants to put a stake in the ground and say, "Hey, I'm going all solar and I'm going to put these solar panels on my," the more power to you. But it is kind of sad that we are losing some of these traditional ways that we enjoy time with our family and time with our Lord by spending time outside, and we're losing ground fast. I mean, not just on the inland, but on the ocean too. We've talked about both.
I think just usable land for people who enjoy being outside, it's shrinking by the year. We had that corridor that nobody wanted.
Right
when Janet Mills first came into
they dug
office.
it anyway.
And they started the project before anyone said go ahead, and now
it's just the trench.
They've already they've done enough, so I think they just decided to go ahead with it. Or did they cancel?
Did they cancel that?
I don't know.
I feel like they canceled it. It's just a giant trench.
I mean,
and they didn't do anything with it because we voted it down.
And that was the thing, is everyone was like, "Are we going to be able to use this?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, no problem." And it's
then we find out.
No.
Yeah, we find out we only get like 4% of the energy anyway, and from all the windmills and the solar panels, we get 1.3% from that, and all the other energy is going to another state next door. But by doing all that, you have to cut down trees, and then we find out what the windmills actually run on oil, and they leak. And then we also find out that when the lathes go bad, they can't recycle them. They can't recycle them, so they bury them actually near where the windmills are. They just dig a trench and they bury them near the windmills. And when solar panels go bad, if you've ever had a solar panel on your own land, I mean, I'm totally fine with that. If you want to put solar panels on your house and ruin your roof, go for it. Or if you want to put them in the ground, whatever, and you want to kill the grass that's around them, that's fine. But when those solar panels go bad, I mean, it's like thousands of dollars just to replace a singular panel on one of those things. And they can't recycle those either.
Yeah. And look, if you want to be a freak about green energy, fine. Do it on your idea and your dime. But to tax and penalize everybody right to death, that's the frustrating part.
Yeah, exactly.
And so let's raise taxes on top of that,
so that we can afford this whole thing, this whole project. Yeah.
Yeah, whenever I hear the word subsidy, I get nervous.
That's right.
I just recently heard two quotes. One I'd heard before because everybody knows it, and the second one I didn't know, and I'm going to butcher the quote because I'm not looking it up. But it was Ronald Reagan who said that the words that terrified him the most were, "I'm from the government, I'm here to help." But he also said in another one, "Oh, your name isn't Jesus, then I don't trust you." And I was like, ooh, I've never heard that one before. That one was one of those we didn't get taught in school. I'm nowhere saying that Donald Trump is perfect. We say this 100 times, but he wanted to pass a bill to not only lower taxes, but he was trying to give everybody a tax break, like especially on overtime and all these things. And Mills comes along and she blocks all those things. And then I don't know. Maybe she was trying to cover that up by doing the hiking of the prices of all these licenses and all these other things that she's doing to everybody else. I have no idea what the heck is really going on because it just seems like one smoke screen to cover up something else. I don't want people to know that I really blocked this bill. So, hey, I'm going to raise prices on your hunting license.
One's, the left, they love to raise taxes. This is how Donald Trump gets elected, right?
Right.
In 2024, they elected a guy. How many felonies does this guy got? I mean, it's, on paper.
Right.
It's quite a few, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so,
Oh, none?
and so if Donald Trump is this big scary guy, and there is a character issue here, I agree with you. He is not perfect, which I think brings me back to my point that how does this guy get elected if the left doesn't drop the ball so bad with the 4 years that they had? We saw record-breaking inflation. We saw energy prices through the roof. You know who takes a beating? The rich get richer,
Mhm.
the poor get poorer, and the middle class takes a beating with a stick
Mhm.
because they go to work, they pay their taxes, they work hard. Some of them work 2 jobs, they have family, and they don't qualify for any help. They don't qualify for EBT. They don't qualify for main care. They don't qualify for any, probably a subsidy on their health care. They probably don't qualify for. So you've got the people, which is the majority of this country, which is the middle class. You got these poor people in the middle that are just taking a beating. That's how somebody like Donald Trump gets elected. And, look, I voted for the guy. I'm not too proud to admit I voted for him, right? But it's not because that we had a worse candidate. We had a terrible candidate to choose from.
We did.
You know? And not only that, but everybody just said, hey, I don't care if the guy's a felon or not. I've had enough.
So let's bring this back to Maine.
Sure.
Have you met Bobby Charles?
I haven't.
Okay.
I haven't.
Does he have a chance to pull this off? The person that Governor Mills is promoting
Mhm.
into the next position is I keep getting her name,
Shanna
Shanna Bellows,
Yeah.
and she's going to be Mills times 150,000,
Right.
because she's coming in already ticked off,
Mhm.
and she's not. We don't have like some states have a lieutenant governor. We
Mhm.
don't have a lieutenant governor here in Maine, but she's kind of been what they would call a lieutenant
The
governor.
unspoken, yeah.
Yeah. I've looked into what Bobby Charles is promoting, what he's holding on to. Man, he just seems too good.
To
He'd
you
be
and
really
I.
he'd be really good for Maine. And
Yeah.
does he have a chance on the things that he's running on to turn? Are people smart enough to vote for somebody to turn? Okay.
No.
Well-
I don't think he can get through the gauntlet of Portland.
The thing is, even if he did win the governor's seat, you still have
The people that are
the
in
legislative branch to deal with, and
Mhm.
they're still the majority on the left. Like you just said, Southern Maine, District 1
Mhm.
is District 2? With the Southern Maine District.
Southern Maine District.
Shows you how much I know. We might as well call them Little Boston,
Mm.
because they
I wish we'd voted for them to be Boston.
Yeah, that's the thing, is you have to get Southern Maine on your side to get anything pushed through in the state anymore.
Yeah.
They sure do enjoy the food that they get from everybody else that's on the
yeah.
other end.
They sure do.
Paul LePage was here in 2022, and I said to him, Paul, you're in really good company here. We're all believers. We're all conservatives. It's not us that you got to worry about. What are you going to do to win the middle?
Yeah.
And what are you going to do to win a handful of them on the left? Because that's what you're going to have to do to win in a blue state like Maine. I forget exactly what he said, but he said, well, young man, I'll tell you what I think that we're going to do is, remember all those nurses that Janet Mills fired
Sent
because
away.
they wouldn't get the COVID vaccine? I'm gonna do away with that, and I'm gonna bring these people. Those people are angry about that.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, not only that, but the issue that we were starting to have with immigration here in this state. Paul said, "Look, I'm gonna offer them a seat at the table. I'm going to offer them, but you're going to have to come here and you're going to have to work. You're going to have to pay taxes and you're going
But
to
do
have to
they live
contribute.
in Portland? Because even if you were a nurse in Portland, you lived in Westbrook, you lived in Standish, you didn't live in Portland.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's still the voter base.
Mm-hmm. It's a really tough battle to fight, and I haven't met Bobby Charles. I know we got him coming to an event here.
Yeah.
What I want to see is if somebody broke the law and did wrong and took advantage of the Maine taxpayers, I mean, we got to have justice at some point. All the talking is one thing, but
Mhm.
when people start getting either deported or going to jail, is when I'll believe that somebody is actually fighting for the people of Maine, because we just keep rolling over year after year.
Yeah.
I remember not that long ago, was it a year or two ago? I mean, we were at the State House protesting all of the laws that they were trying to pass with abortion and same-sex surgeries and all that sort of thing. My son Ian was at one of those, and we saw like such a huge like Christian surge on the Capitol. I mean, they were worshiping in the main hall there, and they still managed to get it through. And it's like we had person after person come in and testify in front of the committee there, and I was watching it online. I mean, I was working, but I also had my little window open watching these testimonies come in. I mean, that was like crazy grassroots, like instantaneous push for our side. And then when it comes right down to the actual voting and the election part, it's like the rug gets pulled right out from under our feet, because I don't think that elections are as honest as Shanna Bellows says they are. And we come to find out that there are illegal aliens voting in our elections.
Yeah.
She even admitted it. Yeah. He's got quite a job ahead of him to fix all these problems. I don't know how that's going to happen, though.
And I don't know how he gets elected. You know, look, I'll vote. I'm obviously going to vote for him, right?
Yeah.
You guys are going to vote for him.
Yep.
Any crowd that we hang around is going to vote for him. But we've got to understand here that we're the minority in the country, and what we got to do to try to turn those tables. We saw a little bit of that in 2024. I'll be honest with you. I voted for Donald Trump, but I didn't think there was no way he was going to get elected. I voted for him, and then I betted against him on a derivative trade on Robinhood. It cost me $600 when he got elected. I bet on Kamala to win.
Wow.
Yeah, right? Because I
chose
understand.
wrong. No.
I chose wrong, and I paid the price. I paid $600 to enter into that trade, and it cost me. I was more happy that Donald Trump got elected.
Yeah.
But just knowing the baggage that Donald Trump, was bringing with it, with his character flaws, with January 6th, with COVID, not being too far out of the rear view, I didn't think there was no way this guy'd get elected, but he did. And so I would really love to see Bobby Charles, get elected. I don't know the guy personally. I would like to meet him. I would like to hear some of his ideas, but he's on our political side, so you'd obviously love to see him win. But does he win? Something like that, like what Donald Trump pulled off in 2024, which is the greatest political comeback in history
Ever.
Yeah.
So because again, I don't know what trends you see or what trends you don't see or whatever. There's a lot that goes into Maine being the way life should be. That's what it was when I was a kid. That was I hated the license plate that said vacation land. I hated that. But the way life should be, I've been here my entire life.
Yep.
I thought about leaving Maine, and some guy sent me a text message.
And a 2-hour phone call.
Man, Dollar Generals were popping up all over the place, right? I'm going somewhere with this. But then we passed a law to make marijuana legal, and all of a sudden, for every Dollar General, there were 3 pot shops, right? At least. I think there's 4 between Machias and Jonesboro, Harrington, or whatever. So my question is, has there been any adverse effect with how many shops are just pulling up all over the place and just recreational wilderness stuff? pot shops have popped up all over the place, and we're seeing a major drop in hunting and fishing and things like that. I mean, I just want to know, like,
For instance, everybody who hunts and fishes in the state of Maine is aware of Indian Hill Trading Post, right?
Yep.
Everybody knows that place. It's
Mhm.
like it's an icon.
Mhm.
And then the average Joe, we know about Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's
Yep.
and that sort of thing. So there are places that, what's the word I'm looking for?
same word I was looking for, probably.
Yeah,
Is anybody taking a hit?
they're geared towards the outdoor lifestyle, right? That's what their focus is.
Yep.
You know, we have Pineos here, right in Machias, and they have a little hunting and we used to have a couple of pretty decent gun shops in the area. So now it seems like even those are gone now. So it seems like the momentum to change our traditions in the state of Maine is well underway. And we're starting to see all of those familiar, every town had a sportsman's shop, like a gun shop or something that like everyone went there because you've
Yeah.
got to get your snap swivels, you know, at the
Mhm.
beginning of trout season.
Sure.
And
You had to get your worms.
and you go in and
had
you
fellowship with other hunters and
Yeah, and
fishermen.
and you're like, I might as well get a box of 20 gauge bullets while
Mm.
I'm in here. And it just seems like back in the 80s and early 90s, like it was like going into a place that sold CDs or tape cassettes, you know?
Yeah.
All of that stuff is just getting cleared out. So I mean, I'm really glad that you're doing this, but how do we move on? Like, how do we maintain this main tradition that's been so important to us?
I'm taking my best shot at it with Eastern Wildlife Management, not just to glorify God, but to try to create some type of opportunity for somebody who's interested in that kind of thing, but doesn't know where to start or is too overwhelmed or whatever. There's also some other organizations out there. You know, like I told you, I do a youth turkey hunt every year for a nonprofit called Moose Maine Kids. And their objective is to get kids away from their laptops and off of their Game Boys or Xboxes and get them outside and get them hunting, get them fishing, get them camping. So, like, I think if we want to get back to that, maybe you're just an average everyday Joe, but you enjoy hunting and fishing and some of those old traditions. Maybe you just take an afternoon of your hunting season and take somebody hunting. You know, I've got a guy. He has spina bifida, and I've guided him for the last 3 years now. Really good guy. I've seen him slowly decline, you know, over the years. I'm his neighbor, and we took the time to take this guy hunting, and he's challenging the guide because of his disability. He can't get in a tree stand. You kind of got to put this guy right in front of a deer. And out of the 3 years that I guided him this year, we finally put this guy in front of a buck.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was probably the most rewarding hunt that I ever had, and he didn't just have his crack at this one, but he had a crack at two, and he couldn't. He's got a permit to get the gun out the window and all that, but the first one, the deer just didn't give him enough time. You know, he takes, you know, because he's kind of green at the outdoors too, but he's got a solid interest in taking part in it, and half the time, this guy just wants to go hang out and be one of the boys. He wants to eat good food. He wants to be outside, and like that's what it's really about. So wasn't it a blast to see him connect with a deer? You know, an hour later after we, you know, put him in front of that first one, he never got the shot off. You know, we got him in front of another one. And to watch him pile that deer up, you know, I got out, I set the rest up, he got the gun in the rest, and then he fired and dropped him right in his tracks. You know, what's really cool about that is not just the harvest, not just the story, but you know, we reached out to the community and said, hey, this is this guy's first deer, and for all we know, it could be his last. What do we got to do to have this deer, you know, dragged to a taxidermist and have it mounted? And we raised the money from the community
That's
to have
awesome.
this guy's deer, to have that memory, you know, encapsulated in his room forever. Yeah. Yeah, it was something really special. And that was the first time that we've ever reached out to the community and said, hey, we have a potential need here. What do we got to do to meet it? And we had people that donated $10. We had people that donated $100. We had people that donated $50. Within days we had the money to take this guy's deer to the taxidermist and have his taxidermy work done. So he's going to get that back sometime this month, I'm hoping. The taxidermist, that was his thing. And he was like, look, I can't really offer you much of a discount, but I can put it in the front of the line, get it off, have the hide tanned, and have it done in quick shape. But I think, like that, and I didn't say that story to try to toot my own horn. I said that story because
No, I think you totally tooted that other guy's horn. I think that was amazing. That was such a great story.
Yeah, he can't walk, he can't climb.
I bet you he didn't stop smiling though.
Oh man, we were
I bet you when he saw the deer,
we were
probably
both
just
excited.
seeing them was like, wow, forget
Yeah.
shooting it.
It was something special. But I say that because that's an opportunity and maybe it's a low percentage opportunity because he's new, because of his disability or whatever. But somebody gave the guy a chance.
Yeah.
And I think that if we want to get back to that, maybe you just take an afternoon and you take somebody, whether it be a kid or whether it be an adult or somebody that's new. That's what the ministry is all about. That's what Eastern Wildlife Management is all about, is we want to play a major role in that, in introducing people to the outdoors and introducing them to it in the right way. And I think over time we may get back to that tradition, like you said, of seeing these sporting good places pop back up and having these pastimes.
Well, I think if the energy system keeps going the way it is, maybe a lot more people will have to be hunting anyway.
Yeah, the ones that have given the sport up, they're going to have to relearn it, huh?
Yeah.
So that's something I want to go into a fun direction. So the smile on your face tells me that's probably one of your most memorable hunts.
I think it is.
Yeah. So
I've had some good ones, but
yeah.
that's a good
So
one.
I want to know whether it was being on a lobster boat or maybe being out in the field. What was one of those times where you were like, "Oh, this is not good"? I want to hear a slightly dangerous. But what can you remember as like, "Oh, that was terrifying"?
Yeah. When I was 19, I worked in Steuben with a guy. I was a stern man, and I had a rope wrapped around my foot.
Oh!
It took me off my feet, dragged me to the back of the boat, and I didn't go over.
Oh.
But it was really close. I got up and I was like all wet from the carpet that he had on the floor.
Yeah.
And I was like, he's like, "Are you okay?" He put the boat in reverse and everything. I told you I have an insurance agency. We sell mainly life insurance. That's what we do. I got my first life insurance policy after that.
Wow.
Yeah, I became a believer real quick in insurance. Even at the age of 19, when you're supposed to think that you're invincible.
Sure.
Yeah.
I worked with a girl at Walmart on the overnight. She was a captain of her own boat. She was working with another fella that was working overnights at Walmart. Her name was Julie, and the pulley rope got wrapped around her hand, and it pulled it through the pulley. She somehow was able to. She pulled the glove off. She got her hand out. She pulled the glove off, and my friend was like, "Don't take the glove off! Don't do it! I don't want to see it." And she didn't go to the hospital for 3 days. She just wrapped it. And when she finally went to the hospital, they said, if you had waited one more day, you probably would have lost half of your hand. But they were able to save all those fingers. I mean, she can't, I think her pinky, she was not able to bend that anymore once it finally healed up. So I've heard some pretty harrowing stories. But
second most dangerous job in the world. First is coal mining.
Yeah, I've heard some things. So man, I just want to say thank you, Tyler, for being here with us. This was amazing, and this was not scripted. This was not planned. This was not a thing. I said, "Hey," I said, "Hey, would you be willing to be interviewed?" And literally, Tyler was like, yeah. I'm like, well, how much time do we have? He goes, well, how much time do you want? I'm like, oh my gosh, you don't want to say that. We could do this for hours.
I was happy to do.
But I think this was certainly super amazing. So, what is the name of the organization again?
Eastern Wildlife Management is the name of my ministry.
All right. And
how do we get a hold of you if we need to? You have a Facebook page?
We have a Facebook page, and you can reach out to us on there. And of course, I'm around town here.
You got a phone number?
207-598-8257.
And do you have an email address?
Tyler Farrington 11@yahoo.com.
How do you spell Farrington?
2 R's. Farrington.
Great.
well, again, thank you so much. I hope somebody out there got something from this. I say that all the time because I never know what anybody's ever going to get from something like this. I want to thank you for being honest too at the very beginning. I mean, you even talked about your testimony, and that's not always an easy thing to do, just to come right out with something like that. So yeah, I hope this was a huge blessing. This is a huge blessing to me. I certainly learned a lot, and it was fun, and I'm glad we were able to do this. So this has been Take Me Deeper. I am Casey Hill.
I'm Nate Dudley.
Tyler Farrington.
And I just want to thank everybody for hanging out with us. God bless you.
Grace and peace.
Meant to be alone. Like I come in the storm, you shared your love with me. I'm soothed like a darkened cloud that brought no light and rain into your hand of love. And did what I had done. Sweet Messiah, come and rescue me. Holy, triumphant King of majesty, honor and power, glory be. Jesus, take my heart. Lord Jesus, take my heart. Lord Jesus, take my heart. And bring me to my knees.
And that was it. So, I'm going to go over here real quick. If you want to, help me, support me in a way, go to linktree/DanielsMedia, or go to, ko-fi.com/DanielsChristianContent. Go to linktree/TakeMeDeeper and then go to linktree/Hill. You guys have a blessed night, and yeah, God bless.
Yeah.